Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. One of my subscribers asked me to show you what it looks like in this winter wonderland up here in the southern Adirondacks today. Today is Saturday, December the 16th. And I also wanted to show this to my web manager in Australia, because they are just about entering summer, and she's just getting over a bad case of the flu. So, Marilyn, I hope you get better soon. And on this program, I wanted to do the last installment in my series on the amazing prophecy which QAnon gave on November the 14th. And I am beginning to think more and more that QAnon is actually President Donald Trump, although he undoubtedly gives it to his employees, maybe Kellyanne Conway, to copy it over for the internet. And I'm going to look at the next to last section. Remember, he divided this up into 5 10-verse sections, because just like all apocalyptic literature, he is giving the message that the way to defeat the Antichrist and to be victorious over the deep state in these end times, the one world government and the one world religion, is to pray Mary's rosary. And I am not going to back down from that position, because that's exactly the same prophecy that Daniel gives, and Ezekiel and Zechariah and Isaiah and Micah. They all give the same thing through hidden numerology, just as QAnon is doing. So let's look at verse or line number 33. If we found Osama bin Laden, eliminated his security, why would we immediately kill him and not take him alive? Well, of course, that's a good question. Unless Osama bin Laden knew something about clowns in America that they did not want you or I to know about. And line 34, why wouldn't we want to capture Osama bin Laden alive and extract other possible terrorist-level events? Well, maybe they didn't want what he knew to come out. And the next line, I think, answers the question. Perhaps someday people will understand they had a plan to conduct another mass extinction event. So QAnon is answering his own questions here. And I think line number 36 is the most important line in this whole prophecy. And he asks about World War I and World War II. But what kind of relevance would that have? They happened 70 years ago. QAnon is actually telling us about World War III. World War I and World War II orchestrated and played by select families. What QAnon is telling us is that Donald Trump is not going to start World War III. Now, he could not tell us that himself, let's say, in a presidential address. That would tie his hands when he is dealing with rogue states like Iran or North Korea. What he is telling us here is that World War III will be begun exactly the same as World War I and World War II. In other words, by the Illuminati, by the elite, by the rich banker families. They are the ones who will provoke World War III. And QAnon continues. In line 37, Fantasyland. I'm not sure, but I think he's maybe talking about Americans who live in a fantasy land in regards to, let's say, the 9/11 event or how world wars start. And 38, remember, the more people there are, the more power people have. Well, of course, even China and India know that. Well, how come we in America don't understand that? Why do we promote abortion, the killing of the unborn? That brings the wrath of God upon us, as well as depleting our population. And the next line, why do Democrats push for gun control directly after every tragic incident? Well, because they are part of the deep state, and they do not want a well-armed populace. Remember, the Second Amendment was not put in place so that people could hunt. It was put in place to protect us from immoral, illegal, and tyrannical government. The Founding Fathers knew what they were doing. And 40, why is this so very important to their agenda? Well, as I say, they want to establish tyranny because that's the only way that they can lead people. They do not want true democracy, even though their name is democratic. And 41, we the people are who they are afraid of. Absolutely QAnon. You know what's going on. And we're very glad that you're on the inside giving us your viewpoint. And I support you. I believe you are correct in your analysis, especially about World War III. That doesn't mean that Donald Trump has his hands tied. As I said, he has already bombed Syria, and he is not going to back down as far as the other rogue states around the world go. But he is also telling us that if we see World War III break out, it is not him that started it. It is the evil, immoral people in our own country, a lot of them. And now I want to thank those of you who supported my book project since my last video, especially Leoncio from Spain. Thank you, Leoncio. I appreciate it. Mark in New Zealand, and I especially want to thank Mark because this is the second time he has donated this month. Thank you again. Or I should say within the last 30 days. Claudius, thank you, Claudius. Dominic, I'm not sure where you or Claudius are from, but thank you so much. And Christine in Belgium. Thank you, Christine. So if any of you would like to help me out, you can click on the PayPal button, either on my YouTube channel or on my thirdeaglemedia.com website.